Guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a psychological drama / horror film from Poland, Polish language English subs, released in the year 2015, directed by Marcin Rona, and this film is called Demon. So Demon is based on a Jewish legend of the Dybbuk. Now a Dybbuk is a demon that possesses people for the rest of their lives. When they die, they jump onto somebody else. So unfortunately for Peter, the main character in this film, he is about to be married, but before his wedding day he comes across this shallow grave of bones that used to belong to a person who was possessed by this demon, and so now the demon has jumped to Peter. So he's demonstrating very weird behaviour, but this weird behaviour is about to be exaggerated at his wedding reception, where he starts to have these fits. People start to believe he's gone mentally insane, that he can't handle the pressure of a wedding. So the bride, the bride's father and a doctor, they take him to the back room. The bride's father comes back out. He doesn't want the wedding day ruined, so he decides to try and reassure these partygoers that everything is fine and that they have to keep the festivities going. So he goes back into the room to where these people are examining this guy, and at first they believe it's epilepsy, then they believe it's mental illness, but then they start to believe, okay, evidence suggests that maybe this has something to do with the Dybbuk. And so not only are they going to have to try and keep the festivities going, but they're going to have to try and fight this entity to save the groom so he can be and live a happy life with his bride. So whether or not that is the case is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Demon. This is a very tragic film, and it's a movie that is surrounded in a lot of notoriety as far as eeriness is concerned, because the director actually killed himself not long after this film premiered. And I think it's very disrespectful to basically speculate on this guy's death because of what he made. A lot of people saying this movie was cursed, and there's a lot of stories out there, but I just think that it's not very fair for this director. Obviously he was going through problems, and to say that it was down to a curse, I think it's just downplaying his death a little bit, and I think he just deserves a lot more than that. But the movie does have notoriety for that reason. Is the same reason that The Crow had notoriety when Brandon Lee was killed on set. And so when people come out and say it just doesn't feel right for me, but this movie does have that eeriness based on the fact that this director unfortunately decided to take his own life. And I think that is an absolute tragedy, not only for the reason that he decided to leave this world, but for the reason that he demonstrates so much skill in this film to indicate that he was on to bigger and better things. And this movie emulates the works of Dominique Moll, who is a masterclass as far as French noir is concerned. If you are familiar with French noir, they really specialise in creating the character of the atmosphere. It's the character of the things you can't see. It's something that is missing in a lot of American horror films, in that they want to be lazy. They want to show you everything that's going on. They want to show you the demon. They want to show you the evil presences. It's all about jump scares. It's all about excessive gore, nudity. This movie doesn't really have any of that. It doesn't have any violence. It doesn't have any stereotypical demon sort of possessed sort of moments. But the movie does have a very solid atmosphere, and the atmosphere is by far the biggest draw card. It's the biggest character, and it keeps you gripped. The movie is very slow, and there are problems with the continuity that I'll go through a little bit later, but you never really notice it to the point where you feel like you want to turn it off, is because you feel like there's always that hypnotic presence in the background that is keeping you glued to the screen. Is that it actually feels like an otherworldly entity is capturing you and holding you and forcing you to watch it. And I think that is because the movie really does pay fine attention to the very small details that a lot of other filmmakers don't actually do. Is because, once again, it is the details that require a lot of attention. And a lot of European films do this, in that attention is realised, and therefore you have that otherworldly sort of presence that is hypnotising you to a point where you feel, okay, something interesting really isn't going on at the moment, but I can't help but feel that something so much more is going on. So it does give you that impression that, okay, it's magnified to a point because of the fact that the atmosphere, the cinematography, this score, it all combines to make something of a bubble that you're trapped in. You can't get out until the very end. So Marcin Rona does a great job at demanding the audience's attention from start to finish. This is a very, very slow film, but that slow progression is actually fastened up a little bit because of the gripping atmosphere. So cinematography was absolutely fantastic, very dreary, very downbeat. The score was fantastic. It was probably my favourite part of the film, the score. It reminded me once again of Dominique Moll's work as far as The Monk, with A Friend Like Harry, and also Lemming, where it just feels very, very uneasy. You don't know exactly why you feel so uneasy, but you feel uneasy to the point, okay, I'm watching a horror film without anything horrifying actually going on. So I thought the overall production of the film was complemented very well by the acting. I thought the acting was fantastic. You've got some very quirky characters. The whole world is very quirky, but that quirkiness is complemented by the characters and the actors' performances as these characters. There are some very funny moments that were very deadpan. Deadpan is very, as a characteristic of a lot lot of European films, especially the films of Norway, where it's all about the delivery and its seriousness. It's not trying to be funny. So someone who doesn't know deadpan humour won't actually notice that they're trying to be funny, but for someone who likes deadpan humour, it was actually very funny, is because if you're not trying so hard to make the audience laugh, that can be a lot funnier. And because it's coming across so naturally and so realistic, I just love the way that especially Norwegians go about this. And I thought that Marcin Rona, he does borrow a lot from Norwegian humour, and he also borrows that from French noir, and he combines those two foreign elements, and then he also gives his own element as far as Polish traditions are concerned. You know, when it comes to family and wedding, the Polish traditions that have come about, he intertwines that with the foreign, the foreign elements as well, and he creates something of his own. So I really like the way that this movie goes about its business. I thought the ending was incredibly eerie, and the whole film has that horror vibe, but if you go into it expecting a traditional horror film, you're going to hate this film. But if you like, as I said, French noir, and you like the very slow burn sort of creepiness that a lot of European films have, then I think you're going to really appreciate this. But unfortunately for me, I liked it, but I didn't love it for the simple fact that, once again, it is very slow, but I think that slow quality that the movie has is intensified by the fact that I feel this movie is a very localised film. Now, what I mean by that, there's a lot of traditions as far as Poland is concerned. So for me, being a foreigner, it was very hard to access that tradition and access everything that was going on and understand everything that was going on and understand the overall legend of the Dybbuk. I'm not terribly familiar with this legend, so because there's a lot of, I'm not educated on everything that the movie has, it makes the slow progression of the film just that magnified, and it just feels even slower, whereas someone of a local audience might actually understand everything that's going on, and it might speed it up a lot more. So that was my biggest criticism, and that's a criticism that I feel that a lot of Polish people won't have, because if you understand this, if you do a little bit of research into the themes that this movie depicts, then maybe it is going to be a lot more enticing and a lot more, of a faster pace. But for me, I'm probably going to have to watch this again. But that is the criticism I have. But having said that, it's not really a criticism that I would have of other films as far as a downfall of the production or the story or whatever. It's just stuff that is misunderstood, and therefore it's very hard for a foreigner to really access this film and enjoy it as much as they really should. So overall, it's a very European film. It's a movie that I would highly recommend to anyone out there who likes to be tested, and as a result of that, I am going to give Demon 3.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.